What's going on, guys, and welcome to part 7 of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode for round 6, the French Grand Prix. So we get into this one first of all with the activities. We've got quite a few slots to go through, but actually we're not doing that yet because we're looking at the R&D. As you can see, we're really far behind Alfa Romeo now, and Haas and Williams are somewhat catching us. So yeah, development's not going so good lately. We're going to put a few little upgrades on the car. We've got a chassis upgrade we're going to put on here. It's not going to be on the car until the British Grand Prix, if it even succeeds. But we've just got to go with it. This one is not going to come till Austria. We've got our turbo upgrade has now finally come through, and I believe we're going to put a MGUK, I believe that is, upgrade on the car. Now we go to our activities, just kind of, trying to make our departments happy to increase the chance of things not failing, and then just some simulator training. And I'm like, what do I want to do here? I've got 2 slots, but I can either, do a bit for the team, lose a bit of cash, or get the driver perk up a bit. I decided to go for the team one. However, then we've got our facility upgrades. I am going to do a facility upgrade here, I believe, because we just need to get these facilities moving a bit more so we can get upgrades coming through quicker and all that sort of stuff. So we do the build time upgrade for chassis to make those things happen a bit quicker. We then have a durability kind of facility event that we've got here. Something about Lundgaard not wanting to do something or being caught up with other things. I don't know. There's something here that basically affects his focus and his experience depending on what you go for. So if we agree, he's going to lose. I think he's going to lose focus, but our durability will be a bit better. If we decline, he's going to get a bit more focus. Is it focus or is it? I can't remember what it is. Experience. Sorry, it's experience and durability. So we decide to get the durability morale up a little bit, and in turn that means that his experience goes down a little bit, but I don't really think it's going to be that big of an issue. We go on to Q1 for our fastest lap. Now the French Grand Prix circuit, Paul Ricard, it's not my favourite track in the world. It's not the best for racing, although the 2021 French Grand Prix was actually really good, the real one. It's actually a pretty good race, so quite surprising there. But yeah, it's not the funnest track in the game. I don't know, it's just a little bit awkward in place. It's kind of hard to say what's not so great about it, but just the nature of the track doesn't provide a whole lot of overtaking, a whole lot of on-track action, and yeah, generally it's not my favorite track in the world. I don't hate it, but it's definitely not my favorite. Now this lap here was going pretty well. As you can see, I'm a little bit up on my time. My first flying lap was not the best. I'm down all the way at the bottom, and my teammate Christian Lundgaard is actually above me at the moment, but we are on track for a much better lap this time. This corner here is one that I really struggle with, just getting turned and braking into that corner. You've kind of got to brake and turn at the same time, and it's a really awkward corner on the track. I'm just not a big fan. This whole final section is definitely my least favorite part. I'm just not very good in this last section. Just getting it all over the place, can't get my lines that well, but we got it even worse on the first lap, so we're actually up quite a bit more on this lap. And we go to cross the line for our fastest time in Q1, and we're up into P7, which is pretty good at the moment, but not many people have gone so far. We go on to my next lap. I'm up by quite a bit again, but we come around this corner here. I hit the curb a bit too much, and we just spin around. We just go straight round, and that's the end of the session, I'm pretty sure. So we don't have a chance to do another lap. That's all we've got to do. We've lit the rear tyres up, and that's going to bin us out of Q1 because we fell a fair way from 7th place. It ends up being a pretty disappointing P20, only 1 position ahead of our teammate. So once again, as usual, we've got quite a lot of work to do in the race thanks to our poor qualifying.
Here we are again then at Le Castellet for another round of this year's Formula One World Championship. Renault took their first French Grand Prix win all the way back in the inaugural race in 1906, but it was another 73 years before they could take their second. I'm sure Alpine will be pushing hard to delight the local fans here today. We have 15 corners here at the circuit Paul Ricard, 6 to the left and 9 to the right. The rain is coming down and making for a slippery racing surface, but luckily there is plenty of runoff available, and hopefully we'll be able to avoid bringing out a safety car during today's Grand Prix. It's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are 3 big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Valtteri BOTTAS lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Norris, Sergio Perez and Ricciardo, Leclerc, Gasly, Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel, Ocon, Stroll, Carlos Sainz. They've taken a grid penalty. And Tsunoda, Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher and George Russell, Mazepin, Shaw, Lundgaard and Nicholas Latifi. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Alright, so here we go for the start of the French Grand Prix to 5 red lights, and away we go. It is a wet French Grand Prix. It's our second wet race of the season, and as you will see in the bottom right, and as my engineer is telling me right now, we've got some worn engine parts. So basically what I was going to do, I was going to keep the first lot of engine parts that were wearing down. I was going to keep them on the car for practice and then switch them for qualifying, but I forgot and I didn't want to take a grid penalty, so we're running with some fairly worn engine parts. The gearbox is actually the most worn part, which I wouldn't have changed anyway, because after this race we automatically can use a new one. But yeah, we have got a few worn parts this race, so something to look out for and hope that we don't have any big mechanical issues. So we had some pretty good action off the start line there. I think we were 3 wide with our teammate, and I believe it was one of the Hasses, perhaps, I'm not sure. It was a pretty crazy first lap, and then Giovinazzi is trying to go around the outside into the chicane here. He sticks it around the outside, but we're side by side. I'm going to keep fighting the place, and we are going to come out on top there. I just didn't want to back down, and we managed to get the position back off Giovinazzi. He just got the slipstream, had the ERS deployed down that straight, and managed to get around the outside of us, but we were not going to back down there. We weren't going to let him get past. And we stay in, at the moment, P18. I think we started in P20, and yeah, we're now P18, so we've moved up 2 positions, jumping Giovinazzi and I believe, I don't know who else it was actually. It's not Russell, because Russell's ahead of us. Might have been Mazepin, maybe? I can't remember. Latifi is behind Giovinazzi, but I'm pretty sure he started at the back, so it wasn't him that we jumped off the line. But yeah, it's been a pretty eventful first lap. Those first few corners for sure were crazy. And yeah, wet weather. It's not as scary here as it was at Monaco. Unlike Monaco, the French Grand Prix, Le Castellet, Paul Ricard, whatever you want to call it, has lots and lots of runoff. It's probably got the most runoff of any track on the calendar. Then we get this little message up here. We've got DRS failure. Now I don't know if it's DRS is closed or DRS is open. I think it's closed, because I don't actually get a message from my engineer. Just get that little pop up there. I'm pretty sure it's closed, because if it was open, I'm pretty sure I would have been noticing a big difference in performance, but don't really notice any difference at all, which is why I think it's closed, because in the rain DRS is disabled at the moment, so we can't use DRS anyway. So basically, if it is closed, it's not really an issue at all, because we're not able to use it anyway. And like I said, I don't think it's open, because I would have most certainly realized. So we're trying to catch up to the 2 cars in front of Tsunoda and George Russell, doing a solid job at the front of this little pack here. It's kind of us 3, and then you've got Giovinazzi behind us as well. There's a pretty big gap back to Latifi and I believe Mazepin and Lundgaard, who is at the back of the pack at the moment. But now we've caught right up to the back of Tsunoda. we're having a little bit of a change here. So we were originally on a 2-stop. They've said, we reckon you can do a 1-stop on the intermediate tyres. So I decided to go for that. We're going to run a little bit longer into the race, but we're going to go for a 1-stop on the inters instead of a 2-stop. At the front of this little train that we're at the kind of, well, in the middle of, I suppose, is George Russell. He is keeping Tsunoda and myself behind, with Giovinazzi just behind me. He's doing a very good job here, considering he is in a Williams. I mean, the Williams are pretty close to my car, I suppose, but the Alfa Romeo, and especially the AlphaTauri Tsunoda, should be way up the road. However, we come on to the straight here, there's yellow flags as a caution, and George Russell has an engine failure. So he was doing a great job, but now he has retired. He's retiring from the race. But now we've got this awesome slipstream on Tsunoda. We're going to try and do what Giovinazzi did to us on the first lap, go round the outside of the chicane there, off the straight in the middle, the kind of middle straight, I suppose. There you go. George Russell is out of the session. However, it's kind of helped us because we've now managed to get past Tsunoda. And here we have George Russell coming to a stop towards the end of the middle straight there. Sad to see him have a retirement here, as he was actually running pretty well up until that point. Now I decided I'm going to box a little bit earlier this time. I changed to a 1-stop before, but I thought, you know what, I reckon we can actually come in a little bit earlier and still do a 1-stop. So that's what I decided to do. Now we come into the pits here. Nobody else has really come in yet, I don't believe, or maybe some people because we're in P10. Some of the front running guys must have come in, but none of the cars around us have come in yet. So we're here, we're going to try and get a bit of a jump on them, come in the pits. We're going to hope it's a good stop. That looked like a pretty quick stop to me. Sure enough, it's a 1.8 second stop, the fastest stop I've ever had in this game, and I don't actually think I ever had a 1.8 second stop in F1 2020. I think like a 1.9 was as close as I got, so that's the fastest stop I've ever had. So also coming out of the pits, Sebastian Vettel just manages to get alongside Pierre Gasly coming out of the pits, and he just about manages to get past him. I'm not sure which one of the two was ahead before Seb went into the pits, but he is now ahead, and yeah, he's got the AlphaTauri behind him, but he should be able to breeze away from it. Onto lap 15, and we're kind of in the middle of nowhere here. Nicholas Latifi is out of the session. He's also had a DNF, so that's 2 DNFs for both Williams, and then the safety car gets deployed. So Latifi must be in a bit of an awkward position, or there's been a crash, because the safety car's out. Both Williams, both DNFing out of this race, so not a good race weekend for them. As we watch a little replay here of Latifi, he has got my teammate Christian Lundgaard behind him, and his car just kind of conks out at the final corner there, and he just parks it right on the curb. Bit of an awkward spot to park it. I can understand why the safety car has come out. So then I'm deciding, okay, what do I want to do here? Do I want to come in into the pits? Now they give me this option. You can come in once more and put on another set of inters, but I'm kind of like, I don't know, I think I can go to the end on these tyres, maybe? So I'm kind of like a bit stuck here. I'm like, do I try and go to the end on these tyres, or don't I? Well, I decided, you know what, I'm going to come in. I might have been able to get to the end on those tyres and got a pretty good result, but I don't want to be at the end of the race when it's still wet on tyres that are just completely shot at. So I decide to come in. Unfortunately, it's going to drop us to the back of the grid. We're in like P10 or something, but it's going to drop us to the back of the grid. However, we are going to be on the freshest tyres of anyone at the moment. So, and this will definitely be our last stop. So, a little bit of a gamble. Not 100% sure if it's going to work out. Might have been better to stay with the strategy we were on, but this is what I've gone for. It's what I've decided to do. We come on to the safety car restart, and it's really awkward because we're now right at the back of the pack. The person at the front, the driver at the front goes, and we're still coming around these final 2 corners. I put the power down and just get a bit too eager on the power, a little bit sideways, and now we've kind of just, Mazepin he's buggered off in the distance. We're way behind now. We've got a bit of catching up to do for the next few laps if we want to make this work. I mean, I still don't think we're going to be going for points, but if we want to get a decent finish and have a fun end to the race, we've got to really push hard now. A couple of laps later, on to lap 21, we catch up to Mazepin. We have a little bit of a look up the inside of turn 1, but yeah, nothing's happening in there. It's not a very easy place to overtake. However, we get a pretty good run off of this turn here. We're just right up behind him. We have a look to the inside. He actually outbrakes himself a little bit, and I just kind of dive to the outside, and we're on the outside of this corner. It brings us to the inside of the next corner. We're side by side. We do not touch though, and I managed to get the position on Mazepin. We're up to P17 now because Sainz and my teammate decided to come in the lap after the safety car went in, which was a bit stupid. But here's a little replay. Nice little overtake on Nikita Mazepin there. I did quite enjoy that. It was a good little battle, and I mean the Haas is actually pretty close to us on R&D now, so it's a relatively fair fight.
Dry enough yet to start thinking about slicks. Let's hold on to the inters for a while longer.
So yeah, my race engineer being a little bit stupid again, telling me, oh, we don't think it's quite dry enough for slicks yet. I mean, no, it's still raining. It is still raining. The track is still completely soaked. So no, it is nowhere near time for slicks yet. It's going to be inters till the rest of the race. I can pretty much assure you that, Jeff.
The turbocharger is on its last legs. Let's try to keep mileage on it to a minimum.
And then we get another engine part on its last legs. The turbocharger now is also dying on us. That's like 3 parts I think we've been told about this race that are on their last legs. We've now caught back up to the back of Tsunoda, up into P16, so we're doing a relative comeback here on lap 24, and we're just trying to see if we can get anything done here. It's very tricky. You've got a lot of spray, the traction is just not great, the tyres are... I mean, our tyres are actually pretty good at this point, to be honest. We're on some of the newest tyres on the field, especially with these guys. We're definitely on a few laps newer tyres than these guys in front of us. And here we go on to lap 25. We are right behind Tsunoda. We're closest we've been the whole time. And we're just going to try and get the position. We're not going to be in points. I mean, we're all the way down in P16 at the moment. We're not going to be anywhere near points for these last 2 laps. Although in saying that, we're not far off, because there's what, 1, 2, there's 4 cars in front of us, so what is that, 15, 14, 13, that's like up to P12, so we could get to P12 possibly, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a hard one. But we've got the slipstream on Tsunoda. We're going to do the same move we did on him a few laps earlier, and the same move that Giovinazzi tried to do on us on lap 1. We get the move done from a little bit further back than the last time we tried it, and he is a little bit closer to us coming down here, but it's a very fast corner. It's a tricky place to try and get past, and we're just going to keep it nailed. We're going to keep it around that corner and get P15 from Tsunoda. Now we've got to try and see if we can chase down the cars in front. Schumacher is the next car in front, and on lap 26, the penultimate lap, we are right behind his gearbox. It's Ocon and I believe Raikkonen ahead of him. I think they're a little bit too far up in front unless they battle a lot. However, Schumacher is definitely possible. It's possible to get P14 and possibly P12 in this race. However, P14 is definitely possible. As we go on to the final lap of the French Grand Prix, my engineer tells me it is the final lap of the race. And we're going to try and see if we can get past Schumacher on this lap. So we come through the first section. Once again, we get a really good run off that corner like we did with Mazepin. But Schumacher's also got a very good run. However, he's going very defensive into this corner. He's outbraked himself just like his teammate did. However, a little bit worse. We're once again side by side with the Haas. This time it's the other Haas driver. We squeeze him out. We do the exact same move we did on his teammate Mazepin a few laps before. And we have got the position on Schumacher for P14. There's not a whole lot he can do. We're going to watch the replay here again. He just went defensive to the inside, and then he outbroke himself quite a lot. Mazepin only outbroke himself a little bit, but Schumacher actually outbroke himself quite a lot here, but I was further back. So we're a bit more side by side. It's a bit more of a battle through the corner, but in the end, I've got the grip, I've got the position, and I get it. P14, as you can see from us scrobbling, Ocon and it's actually Giovinazzi in front are quite a way in front of us. As you can see here, we're just within 1 second, but we're not going to get past them. As you can see in the top left, Valtteri BOTTAS, he wins again. That's 5 races out of 6 that Bottas has won. He's dominating this season. And there we go. P14 for us, did I say? Yeah, P14 for us. It was a pretty good race, a pretty crazy race in the rain. We get driver of the day again because we've been having some poor qualifying, but some good race results.
Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. I mean, do you pit for fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
So it's Valtteri BOTTAS winning his 5th race out of the 4 races this season. Max Verstappen 2nd and Lewis Hamilton 3rd. So, I mean, you know, there was a little bit of a hiccup from Bottas in Canada last round where Hamilton managed to take victory, but he's back to winning once again here and Hamilton's down in 3rd, so he's just going to increase that gap of the championship. Looking down, we finished in P14. It's a pretty good recovery drive from us after a couple of little mistakes for sure, especially in qualifying. P20 for Lundgaard. He's the last of the finishing drivers, so not so great from him, unfortunately. Looking at the driver standings, like I said, Bottas is way ahead up front. I think he's like 42 points ahead. I think I said in the previous video that he was like 67 points ahead. He's not that far ahead. He was only 37 ahead. So I think it's now 42. I don't know. It's quite blurry on my preview. I am down in P12, so we haven't actually moved. But Christian Lundgaard in P10. Kimi Raikkonen gets 2 points this race, so he moves into P14 for Alfa Romeo, joint on 2 points with Esteban Ocon from Alpine. And that also gives Alfa Romeo their first 2 points of the season. They're still behind us, but you know, they do now have points to their name, so we're going to have to watch out for them. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.